What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good Wolf Project. I'm your host, Jerry Scarlato, and today I want to talk to you about why the journey is the most important thing that you should be focusing on. Not the only thing that you should be focusing on, but it is the most important thing. It is the journey, stupid, is the thing that should be just circling in your head constantly. By the time this is released, it'll be January 17th. By that date, something like 85% of people have given up on their New Year's resolutions. Presumably, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, you don't want to be that person or you are not that person. Either like you have this inkling of not wanting to be the person that gives up on your shit so early, or that's not you and you're trying to bolster that. My belief is most people, the majority of people, of course, want to improve themselves. That's why so many people set New Year's resolutions at the beginning of the year. That's why so many people have good intentions to do things. That's why we should ourselves to death, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago. And all of that is fine and good, but the problem is you should yourself to death. You have good intentions, you set resolutions, and then you quit. And you do that over and over again, and the cycle continues on and on and on. So what I want to do today is build on kind of what we talked about the last couple of weeks. I think this sequence continues to make sense. So I want to build on top of that and talk now about the journey. If you've made it this far, you're already in the top 10%. Congratulations, good on you. You are better than 90% of the rest of humanity at sticking with something. That's a big deal, by the way. Most people don't believe that they are capable of doing things, and they don't believe that they are in the top tier of doing things. But if you have set a goal, if you have set a resolution, and you're still working on it, you are already in the top 10%. So congratulations, you have made it this far. My belief is you will continue to go forward after you listen to this. First, I should back up and say, you've heard things like, life is a marathon and not a sprint. And it's the journey, like focus on the journey. Like you've heard all of these things before, which is why maybe you're rolling your eyes and going, oh, come on, Jerry, like you could have picked something better to talk about. And maybe I could have. At the end of this, you may still believe that. But I believe that this idea that we're going to talk about today is so important. It's so important because not only is it the focus for whatever you're trying to accomplish today, what we're going to talk about today is your focus for life, to be totally honest. Like if you have an inkling to be good at something, if you have an inkling to continue to achieve things at any level, for any reason, for whatever, this topic today is going to be the most important thing that you hear ever. I believe that, truly. And I don't say that because it comes from me. I had to do I'm 40 years old and I just figured this out like 2 days ago. So I had to go through a lot of like soul searching myself and failures and falling flat on my face and getting, punched in the mouth and all of these pissing a lot of people off along the way and ruining relationships and so on and so forth. I had to do a lot of that over the years in order to learn this. And that's why I believe that this is so important. So we'll see if you kind of feel the same, but I want to set that in your mind moving forward so that you pay attention. So I'll go ahead and throw out the idea and then we're going to build into it, if you will. I'm going to tell you what it is and then we'll basically break it apart after that. So so many people focus on, and so many personal development people out there tell you that it's so important for you to set goals. And here's how you set goals correctly so that you can master them, so that you can actually achieve them. And I can give you 35 different ways to set goals. Make sure they're SMART goals and measurable and so on and so forth. And make sure that they're incremental. You don't want them to be too big, but you don't want them to be too small. I can give you all of these things, all of which have a modicum of truth to them, but that's only one part of the equation, the goal. And I would argue it is the less important part of the equation. It is one part and it needs to be there, but it is the less important part. The most important part of setting a goal is developing and becoming the kind of person that can achieve that goal and other goals like that regularly and effectively. Becoming the kind of person that can achieve that goal and many other goals like that regularly and effectively. Not only you achieving them, but you potentially also helping other people achieve them along the way. So, what do I mean by that? Well, I'll give you an example of my own life. I have been in the weight room, in health, in fitness for the vast majority of my adult life and even my youth life. I started in the weight room at 13 years old. I have not been out of the weight room for any longer than probably 2 weeks since then. When I was 24 or 25, that's when I started training people. So it's been 15 plus years that I've been training others. That's been thousands of people, so on and so forth. So not only have I been in it, I've helped lots of people do it. So I can easily, and yes, I mean easily, myself, if I want to put on weight, I can put on weight. I don't mean that it is easy, the process of it, but I know exactly what to do. I can do it. I can set the goal. I can achieve it. And then if I want to take some weight off, I can do it. I can set the goal and I can achieve it. On your end, if I tell you what to do, if you're like, hey, Jerry, this is what I want to do. I want to put on some weight. I can tell you what to do. And if you listen, you'll do it. You'll put on weight. You'll achieve it. If you come to me and you're like, hey, Jerry, I want to lose some weight. I can tell you what to do. If you do it, you'll achieve it. So that is one area of life that in many different aspects of training, health, anything, getting stronger, getting bigger, losing weight, I can regularly and effectively achieve most any of those goals. Now, of course, if you get to an extreme, like you want to be a bodybuilder, I'm probably not the person you want to talk to. Either on, well, I would say I could probably put muscle on you relatively effectively, but if you're talking about leaning down and like getting show prep ready, like that ain't for me. I'm not in that wheelhouse. If you want to be a professional powerlifter, probably not the person to talk to. So certainly there are extremes, but for the vast majority of people, I got you covered. So that's just one example of what I mean by being the type of person that can do that. I can say that with confidence because I've done it for so long and I've seen it for so long, both myself and in people who have listened to what I said. That's important. Listened to what I've said whenever I've given them recommendations. So why do we not focus on becoming the person? Why are we so focused on the goal, the thing itself? Well, it's simple. It's because it feels good to accomplish the thing, but it doesn't feel good to change yourself along the way. As the saying goes, old habits die hard. You are just a big bundle of habits. Literally, not only like in the actions that you do, which I think makes sense for a lot of people. If you have listened to anything over the last couple of years, John Berardi and his company Precision Nutrition over the last couple of decades have made habits very popular as far as things that you need to change. If you want to improve your nutrition, change the habit from eating this to eating that. If you want to improve your exercise, change your habit from sitting to, first start with just walking regularly and then walk longer and then go to the weight room and so on and so forth. So that's one area of how our habits form us. But the area that is more important to that, and this is where it really comes down to you becoming the kind of person that can achieve things, is your, we'll call it your habit, your thinking, feeling, action habit. Okay? Your thinking, feeling, action loop. And that's the harder thing to do because that happens up here. That happens in your head. When you do a different action externally, you can see it happen. Oh, look, I picked this over that, and you can feel good about it, and that feels nice. When you achieve something externally, you can see it happen. Oh, look, I achieved this, and that feels nice, and you get a little dopamine rush, and it feels good. But when you confront your mind, because your mind's fucking you up, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel nice. You don't get a dopamine hit, and if anything, you get a big slap in the face because you're like, whoa, I am just one big mental mess, as you're like paying attention to the words you're saying to yourself and the thoughts that are going through your heads and the feelings that you're having because of your thoughts, and then the actions that happen or don't happen because of those thoughts and feelings. That is the work. And my belief is that that is the work of life. That is the work of life. Like, the big difference between somebody who achieves at a maximal level is the top 1% in any career, in any area, is because they have learned to overcome those deficits in themselves, those mental deficits. They have figured out that I have to literally mentally become a different person. I can't think the same way. I can't feel the same way. I can't let myself succumb to all of these things that most people just kind of like give themselves into. Oh, I don't feel motivated today. Oh, I don't have the willpower for that. Oh, whatever other excuse you want to tell yourself. And that is really where the work is. And that's really what life work comes down to. It is not just doing a thing because you do a thing. It is doing a thing so that you develop into something different. So, like I said, we don't focus on that because it's not fun to focus on. We want to focus on the external thing so that we get this dopamine hit. We want to get there fast. We want it to happen quickly, and we want to feel that dopamine rush whenever we get there. Yes, I lost 10 pounds. Yes, I ran a marathon. Yes, I did whatever. Like, whatever the goal is, you want to see it happen, and you want to get that good feeling whenever it happens. Problem is, most people then revert back to whatever previous life that they lived before that. But my assumption is, if you started something, if you started down a path to improve yourself, then you think it's important, and therefore, why would you stop doing it? If you have wanted to lose weight, if you have wanted to get in the weight room, if you have wanted to start running marathons, if you wanted to start a business, if you've wanted to start saving money, why would you revert back to it after you have achieved your goal? It doesn't make any sense. It makes zero. You cannot give me any justification, any reason why it would make any fucking sense to quit anything that you think is important for you. So the goal is then to be able to keep going off of that. And that's why adding this layer of, it's not only the goal, it is becoming the kind of person that can achieve that goal, that is so important. So before I get going, I'm going to take a quick drink because I just got finished. Well, maybe it's been an hour since I've worked out, but I got another workout coming up here in another hour. So I got to be extra hydrated. Old school Good Wolf Radio cup, one of my favorite cups. The back says, "This is what hard feels like." That is a steal from Alex Hormozy, for any of you that listen to him. Just a reminder that when my mind wants to bitch and complain that things are hard and things are challenging, I go, yeah, well, that's what you signed up for, bud. Okay, so let's go back to the loop that I was talking about. The thinking, feeling, action loop. Excuse me. So we all have thinking loops inside of us. Action loops, if you will. They are also just habits. We have a habit of doing things a certain way. When you walk into the room, for instance, with a person that you generally have tension with, you walk in and you can almost immediately feel the tension. You can feel your brain start to like clamp down on you, and then your interaction with them is going to be awkward no matter how kind or unkind they're being, because your habit is to have this tension, to think, I'm going to have a bad interaction with this person, and then you feel uncomfortable, and therefore your action is that you act awkward or you act tense or whatever. And that's the way your life is. That is you. The problem is, it is inside of you. It is in your head. It's in your brain. It's literally also in your body because of your feelings and your body releasing certain hormones and things that that are connected with those feelings. And we think that it is us. So we think, well, if I am having this problem and I keep having it over and over again, exercise, if I keep quitting exercise and I keep quitting it over and over again because these things keep happening, then it must be me. It must be the way that I am. Instead of understanding that is just your habit of being right now, not just your habit of not exercising and being a lazy ass, but your habit of thinking and then feeling and then taking action or non-action based on those thoughts and feelings. I just gave you one example, and everybody can resonate with that example. You walk into a room, you see somebody that you don't get along with, your brain automatically feels different. It's what happens. When most people start a goal that they've already quit on a few times, especially, you get a couple weeks in, everything's going relatively smooth. You get a couple weeks in, you start to get this thought in your head, well, I've done a good job so far, and I'm not really feeling all that motivated to go work out today, therefore leads to action that I don't go work out. Or, I haven't been going to Thirsty Thursdays with my buddies lately, and they asked me to go, and I've been doing a good job the last couple of weeks. Therefore, you feel like you're letting your buddies down, or you feel like you need to reward yourself. Therefore, action is you skip your workout and you go out with your buddies. You can insert any other reward kind of thing in there that you do, but that is the sequence of events that happens with a lot of people. They do something for a couple of weeks, they think they're doing a good job, and then something happens and they start to negotiate with themselves. And immediately, when you start to negotiate, shit will hit the fan. And there's a damn good chance that in the next couple weeks, you'll be done and you'll be down and out. And that's when you convince yourself, this just must be me. This must just be the way that I am. Or you convince yourself, well, now's not the right time because I'm too busy, or whatever other excuse you want to justify your quitting of this thing that you're trying to accomplish. So if you can start to understand that basic loop, that you have thoughts that lead to feelings that then lead to actions in everything in your life, and currently your thought, feeling, action loop is causing you to quit the things that you're trying to accomplish, if you can understand that and you can accept it, that's very important, then you can change it. It's hard as fuck, as a matter of fact. But it is only in the changing that you accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, and you become the kind of person that can achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Your first level goals, and then your second level goals, and then your fourth, and then your sixth, and then your 10th, and then so on and up from there. At that point, it's up to you how high you want to go and how far you want to go. But until you get out of that loop, nothing's going to change. I promise you that much. And you're going, Jerry, you're fucking nuts. You're crazy. There's no way that this is the way that it is. I'm just the kind of person that can't complete things. Or I'm the kind of person that can't stay focused for a long time. Or I'm the kind of person that just gets distracted. Or I'm the kind of person that can't remember to do things. Or I'm the kind of person that doesn't have willpower. Or I'm the kind of person that blah, 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 blah. Yeah, if you had one of those chills run up your spine because I spouted something off that you say to yourself, okay, you're lying and it's time to change. So you need to decide what area of your life you want to start with. I would say that your loop, whatever area you're struggling with that you're trying to build, that's the area you want to start with. It makes the most sense. But this affects every area of your life. It affects everything that you do. Literally, your action loop affects everything. So it only makes sense to start working on it so that it improves everything. Because once you start working on it, it will then improve everything. If you're struggling in your relationships, if you're struggling in your health, if you're struggling in your finances, if you're struggling in trying to, quit drinking or quit smoking or quit any kind, overcome any kind of addiction, if you understand that all of those are based on loop. Now, of course, some of those have a very addictive component to it. But all of those are also based on loops and feeling addiction, which is a very real thing. Then you can start to make changes. Then you can start to change the loop and break the loop and start to open up another loop. And here's how you do that. So let's talk about that. How do we start to break our action loop so that we can open another loop and choose another path? Because it is only when you break your current loop that you can then choose another loop and hopefully reinforce that one. Let me see if I have time to explain this part. Yeah, I got time. So just so you can understand, like literally the neurological happenings that are going on whenever you're having these thoughts and feelings. It is quite literally just a neurological pathway in your brain that's happening. You have a thought that sparks a neuron. That neuron sends a signal that then releases a feeling. And then either your nervous system either takes action or doesn't. The more often you do that, the more reinforcing it is. Your mind literally is laying down what is called myelin. That nerve pathway becomes myelinated. The more myelinated a pathway is, the stronger that it is. The stronger that it is, the more likely you are to do it. The more you break the pathway, the weaker it becomes, the stronger your new pathway becomes. But you have to constantly break the pathway in order to open a new pathway and reinforce a new pathway. So what we're trying to do is break down the highway, take it from a 6-lane highway to a 5-lane highway, and from a 5-lane to a 4-lane and a 4-lane to a 3-way lane over time, and creating this other pathway from a 1-lane highway, a dirt road maybe, to then a paved road, to a 2-lane highway, and then trying to expand this other side. That's literally what's happening. And that's what we want to do. So the most important thing that you can cultivate moving forward, well, number one, I would argue, is, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, when you start something and you set a goal, if you set the expectation with yourself in the beginning that you will go, that you will do it no matter what, that this is now part of my life and this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm going to achieve and I'm going to do this ongoing. If you set that expectation in the beginning, then you're at least setting yourself up for more success. Whereas most people in the beginning say, okay, I'll give this a try. And when you give something a try, you will stop, you will fail. That's the way that it is. So you don't want to do that. You want to set yourself up strong in the beginning. So set the right expectation up front. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. This is how I'm going to do it. And then you can start to reevaluate down the road as you make changes, as you progress or don't progress, you can make changes and move down the road. Okay? But set that expectation at the beginning that this is what I'm going to do. Once you set that expectation, your old self will creep up and slap you right across your fucking face just a couple weeks into it. Like we've already talked about, that's why so many people quit their New Year's resolutions 10 days into the new year, because their old self comes up and smacks them in the face and says, hey, what are you doing? Like, why are you changing? This is stupid. You're not supposed to be doing any of this. So that's why the next step, which is building awareness around what is going on in your head, is so important. Self-awareness is another trendy thing right now, but it's trendy, I would say, for a reason. I don't think that this is the reason most people say that it is important, but the reason that having self-awareness, and I would say self-awareness, not in that what you're doing, like I do care about your physical action, but I'm not like, hey, is your body doing the things? Are you acting, the way that you want to act toward people necessarily? I'm talking about mind awareness, mental self-awareness, like what's going on in your head, what's going on in your brain, how are you thinking, What's popping up whenever you're confronted with something that makes you uncomfortable? Whenever you get to that point, whenever you want to shut down, or whenever your system wants to start to back away and move back to something that feels safer and more comfortable to you, what's going on in your head? That's what I mean by self-awareness. It is bringing awareness to what is happening in your mind when things happen that are uncomfortable for you, when things happen that don't feel right. Not right in the, oh no, this is a bad man kind of right, but like, I've stepped into a new realm and I've never been here, and I need to figure out how to work through this. Otherwise, I'm never going to push through this. That's what I mean by self-awareness. And if you're doing things correctly and you're moving in a direction, that will happen regularly, often, daily, in the beginning, hourly, maybe every couple minutes in the beginning. And that's where you can't convince yourself that this is just me and this is just the way that I am. It is when you start to convince yourself that it is just me that you get in trouble. It is not just you. You can change, but you have to be aware of what's happening. You have to be aware of this just being a loop of what is happening. So building mental self-awareness is so important. Well, how do I do that, Jerry? Well, it takes work. It takes effort. Part of it is practice during the off season. And by off season, I mean when you're not busy in the middle of the day or something like that. Because when we're just in the fire, it is harder, especially in the beginning, to be self-aware in the fire. Like, it's hard. When you're torched up and you're busy and you're running from thing to thing and someone pisses you off and you blow up on them, it's because you have no self-awareness. But it's hard to stop yourself in that moment. I get that. So the off season is like when you can control things. So first thing in the morning, getting up and meditating, or getting up and just sitting and calming your mind for 5 to 10 minutes, and just paying attention to your mind, not trying to not think, because that is not meditating. Meditating is just paying attention to what's happening and not judging what's happening and recognizing just how many thoughts are going like running through your head constantly, because you realize like, I'm a friggin' mess. What's going on in this thing? But that's normal. Like, that's what your brain does. So unless you train to pay attention to it, that's what's going to happen. And you're going to tell yourself that that's just the way that it is. So find a time, either first thing in the morning or right before you go to bed, 10 minutes at least, 20 would be great, where you just sit in a quiet room and you're just paying attention to what's happening in your head. And about 5 minutes in, you'll realize that you've gone down this path over here and you're starting to plan tomorrow or think about what happened today. And you'll go, wait a second, I'm not supposed to be doing this. And then you'll get pissed about it. And then you'll get upset. And then you'll want to give up. It's normal. It's fine. No big deal. When you start to plan, go, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to be planning right now. I'm just supposed to be paying attention. Okay? So it starts with practicing in a quiet space. Then, eventually, start to practice outside of that quiet space. That means, especially when you can have a little more control over your thoughts, meaning if you know you're going to go into a situation that generally makes you uncomfortable, then pay attention to those thoughts that are happening. If you're like really rushed and in a hurry, it's much harder, but still try to pay attention. But especially, in those moments where you're not like literally torched up, you don't have a bunch of things pushing against you. In those moments, try and pay attention to what's happening in your head. As an example, when you normally tell yourself, I'm training on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to train after work. It gets to be after work. It's 5 o'clock. You go sit down. You're in the car. And you're like, oh, this feels so good to sit down. I just want to sit down. Well, I've worked good all day. I've worked hard all day. And I worked out yesterday. So that means I can probably skip today. Those moments, for fuck's sake, pay attention. Pay attention to what is happening. It is not because you're tired. It is not because yes, maybe you've had a long day, But you know for damn sure if you go to the gym, your body's going to wake up. That's the way that it's going to be. You're going to get over it. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. But if you skip, then you are reinforcing the person that you're trying to beat. So that's really when you want to pay attention, is in those moments when you feel yourself starting to negotiate with yourself. When you feel yourself starting to go, oh man, I've been eating good all week and we are getting ready to go to Fridays. I think Fridays is closing down, going bankrupt. Maybe not. But anyway, we're going somewhere and I usually get like a big burger and fries and it's so good. And I've been good all week. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to do it. Negotiating. If it's not in the plan, you don't do it. Pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to what's happening. Pay attention to the feelings that arise. Like you'll get upset. Like, I really shouldn't do it. But that sucks. I want to be able to do it. Like, yeah, okay. Like that's what you told yourself you were going to do. You told yourself Monday through Friday, I'm not going to go out and drink and, party with friends. This is what I'm doing Monday through Friday. That's what you told yourself. And it's up to you if you want to break that rule. It's up to you if you want to break that promise to yourself. But if you do, just be prepared for the consequences. And 90% of humanity is constantly living the consequences day after day. So that's what it really comes down to, is building awareness. Starting in a quiet place where you can practice paying attention to the mind and what's happening in the mind, slowly transferring that out into the real world, especially in those negotiating moments when you're kind of by yourself, transitioning from one thing to the next, and you have the opportunity to do something different that just would feel so much more comfortable if I could just do this instead. But you know that it goes against the thing that you said you were going to do. Like, especially in those moments, pay attention to the thoughts. For God's sake, pay attention. Because if you just those transitional moments, if you started to change those loops, if you're used to just, hey, I'm going to go ahead and reward myself, and that's the loop that you currently have, if you just break that one time and you start yourself a new path over here, man, you can become unstoppable if you choose to. If you want to keep going, if you want to keep pushing, if you want to keep testing yourself, if you want to keep becoming more mentally resilient, you can do it. But it requires work, daily work. And that's why most people won't do it. I hate to say it, but most people listening to this won't do this. It makes me sad. It really makes me upset. But most people won't do this. If you want to do it and do something with your life, start to pay attention. Become the person that can achieve the goal that you want to achieve again and again and again, over and over and over. Level up those goals. Achieve that one, and then level up the next goal, and then keep going. And then you'll quit convincing yourself that you're a fucking loser, because that's not the case. You've just convinced yourself that you are, but you're not. You can do it, but you have to choose a different path, literally. Everyone else around you will be giving you the excuses. Oh, it's been tough. Oh, I'm running out of time. Oh, work schedule has changed. Oh, kids are starting to play soccer. Oh, this is going on. Oh, I'm losing motivation. And you'll feel the need to just fall back into that same thing. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, you're right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It is tough. Yeah. Yeah, it feels much more comfortable over here. You're right. And then you're going to be pissed about it. And then you're going to be upset. And cycle continues. So you can choose to break the cycle, or you can choose to not break the cycle. My belief is that all human beings are put on this earth to do something. It's up for you to decide what that is and to figure out what the fuck that is. But it requires getting uncomfortable. So until you get comfortable getting uncomfortable, plan on living the same life. I hope you don't, though. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening to me babble. Until next time.